The Roland Space Echo RE-201 was originally produced by Roland in 1974. To put this in context, at that time Roland were producing devices predominantly aimed at guitarists and home organists, and this might also account for its slightly quirky design, effectively being a wooden box covered in Tolex. But what was unique about the Space Echo was the fact that when you switched it on, you could hear the scratchy sound of the tape swirling around in the upper chamber, which was revealed when you lifted the lid on the wooden box. Despite being 50 years old, the Space Echo has no shortage of fans. It's garnered a superb reputation for its quirkiness in design and sound. Over the last few years, Roland have dabbled with various new designs of Space Echo, predominantly in guitar pedal effects, and it's taken them until now, some 50 years later, to reproduce this classic device in software. This new release from Roland is available in audio unit, VST2 and 3 and AAX plugin formats. It's available for both Mac and PC, and available as part of the Roland Cloud. This plugin is a faithful recreation of the original unit from 1974. Despite the charm of the original unit, it did have its limitations. The original was very much a mono device, and it had no way of synchronizing tempo. Given that vintage Space Echoes command very large price tags, this is about the most pristine Space Echo you're likely to see. But if you prefer to see something which has been around the block a little more, you can always go to this menu and select Aged Appearance, at which point you'll see some nicks and rips in the Tolex. We're going to be playing some examples that make extensive use of the Roland Space Echo plugin, and we're auditioning this plugin alongside some of the fantastic instruments available as part of the Roland Cloud, most notably the Jupiter 8 and the 808 plugins. When you first load the Roland Space Echo plugin, the adopted appearance is pretty exacting to the original, with a few minor variations here and there. Right in the centre of the panel, we have the mode switch. This is used to select which of the 3 tape heads you wish to hear, or a combination. Once you've selected your mode of delay, you then use the controls which are located slightly to the right to alter the settings for the tape delay. We have repeat rate. We have intensity, which is sometimes known as feedback. And we have ultimately echo volume. Roland have also included their classic spring reverb from the Space Echo. To be fair, this is something of a Marmite flavour of spring reverb, but it certainly has its place. We can choose to just work with the reverb on its own by selecting reverb only. Or you can select a combination of the reverb in conjunction with tape delay. It's worth noting that this is the only reverb setting that is available, so it's not possible to swap out the spring reverb for a different reverb colour. Roland have adopted an incredibly reverential approach to the design of this plugin, both in the way that it sounds and its initial appearance. But located at the bottom by clicking on this drop-down, there are further controls which are incredibly useful and bring things a little more up to date. Many of these elements are relatively basic by today's standards, but still very welcome nonetheless. A good example is tempo sync. By activating tempo sync, you will see that the repeat rate pot immediately starts dictating timings as note values. This means it's synced directly with your DAW. Another simple but incredibly useful addition is stereo mode. As the original unit was mono, this is its default setting. By selecting dual, you'll find that the sound stage becomes significantly widened. There are also a host of settings which relate to forms of modulation. The condition pot dictates the condition of the analog tape, while the wow and flutter fader will induce subtle degrees of modulation, as will the motor torque. We've got basic filtering controls from low and high cut, but we also have a dedicated LFO, which is used to control the tape speed, as another form of modulation. It's fair to say that we remain enormous fans of the Roland Space Echo product line. We have personally owned some of the original units, and also been totally blown away by some of the guitar pedal variations that Roland have produced in recent years. So this plugin feels like a very natural progression and sounds just like an original Space Echo, while being simple to use and easy to control from within your DAW. We just wish that Roland had brought this out a little sooner.